Good afternoon. Let me first thank that young man, not that he's just a professor, but for keeping it real. Your generation has to take that torch from us and run with it. And I'm extremely proud to hear you, young man.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
As she said, I came here as a child. I've got a sister under me. There's 9 of us. We were the last 2 born in Jim Crow. People always want to know what made me. Being raised in Jim Crow, being born in Jim Crow, I remember going to my grandfather's house as a grown man, looking at that table in the dining room where my sister and I were born. That table where all my mother and her siblings were born, simply because we couldn't go up the road across the track to the all-white hospital. Many of my family died on that journey of 170 miles to get to the nearest hospital that would accept black people. I left a town that you could only look in the stores, you couldn't go in the stores. You couldn't try on clothes, you couldn't go in the drugstore, you couldn't go in the restaurant, you couldn't go to the public park, and you surely couldn't go to public school. We did have a carnival, the 7th day was ours, but only the merry-go-round and the swing would let us ride. We knew where we could go, what we could do, which caused that migration to all the northern cities back then, running from Jim Crow, looking for a brighter day and a better time. They chose Minneapolis. How little did they know that Minneapolis was down south, up north. They got a street downtown today they called the Nicollet Mall. When we came, it was Nicollet Avenue. But those that were here know there was a SS Kresge's, a Woolworth's, a Powers, a Penny's, a Dayton's. And where the store faced that avenue, they all had a sign at the soda fountain stand, "We do not serve colors." To this day, the Government Center sits across from the courthouse, and to the east of it is the Christian Center. The Christian Center is the block where Charlie's Restaurant was that lasted to the late 80s, without ever allowing a black person to be seated or served, without a citation or any kind of fine for being racist in downtown Minneapolis. We came here, we lived on the backside of what's called Plymouth Avenue, down by Bassett Creek. The federal government built public housing called Project, and in the middle of the project was a park called Summerfield. That's what brought us across the highway. However, even though it was public property, paid for by our parents' taxes, they still had a rule in a law that all whites had to live on the west side, all blacks had to live on the east, and there was no mixing. And the only time we mixed is when the children came to the park to skate. This is how we grew up. We could not walk on Plymouth. They would tell us back then, turn around and go where you came from, or you knew you were going under the bridge on Plymouth or under the bridge on Broadway by the police. We knew the merchants, all they had to do was pick up the phone and we would catch holy hell. So we stayed in our little corner. We couldn't go over Northeast. We couldn't ride through Golden Valley. And almost everywhere we went to play sports, we were attacked or abused by referees. The same was the school system. Too many school teachers did not want to teach us or be bothered with us. And most kids that went to grant school, if they remember grant school on Gerard, they had that famous black rubber hose for black kids and make you lay your hand down and beat you with it. The hose was full of sand about that long. All this was legal and justified. So you grow up in this madness that we all were aware of. We all had enough. We all had been through enough. And this summer night, 1966, we just wanted to go watch the Aquatine Parade. That's all we wanted to do. But on the other side of the street, there was a young girl that accidentally got pushed off the curb while the police were clearing people out of the street. Before she could turn around and get up on that curb, that cop took a nightstick and beat that girl. When he beat that girl, that was the moment, as teenagers, we kind of lost it. That's the moment we rebelled for the first time. That's the first time we threw rocks. That's the first time we tore up anything, and we did it from downtown all the way up to Plymouth Avenue. Yes, the mayor came the next day. I think it's nice that he said what he thought the problem was, but he never said discrimination. He never said prejudice. He never said racism. He never said bigotry. I mean, you're still scared to say something about yourself that you know you do. I mean, I came up through Hennepin County Hospital when you couldn't be a janitor. You couldn't be a janitor at Dayton's or Dallason's. You see? Matter of fact, it was the 70s for black doctors and black nurses could get a job in a hospital in Minneapolis. And the only reason you got a job, the Jews opened a hospital on Chicago Avenue called Mount Sinai, and black people could now practice in medicine. I know because my mother was a victim of that. I know Minnesota. It's not any different in the South. It just played the game better. It lied more. The media was willing to keep inside the state what was going on. There is no state or no city that has had as many street rebellions as Minneapolis, and the world don't know it. No state, no city. When you look at Martin Luther King, not only was there a rebellion because we lost his life, within days after he died, the white community in this town made a decision. They no longer have a leader, let's bum rush him down. They would go to the corner of Penn and Plymouth, hit the gas, and shoot at everybody black. Once they started shooting at everybody black, we organized what's called the Black Patrol. The Black Patrol fought back, and I've entitled this book, 91 Days. They fought back for 91 days, men, women, and children. How many in this room knew about the Black Patrol? Raise your hand. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a few here. Most of the time when I say it, they don't even know it happened. Because Minnesota did such a fair job of not showing it on the news, not putting it in the paper, and not allowing it out of the state that there's a race war in North Minneapolis, white people attacking black people with guns. For 91 days, the police left the protection of the North Side. We had absolutely no protection. We had to defend ourselves with our own guns that we had home. For 91 days, you ask yourself, when you're fighting with guns, who has the power to clean up what you're doing? We're hitting cars 70 to 80 times. Somebody's shot. Who's cleaning this up? Who's hiding the bodies? Who's hiding the people? And why is it being allowed in liberal Minnesota? And why don't people know about the 91 days? That's the Minnesota I know. So when we had that big rebellion, they didn't call it rebellion because a rebellion, you got to ask the question, what are you rebelling about? So you said riot. You said riot because that's madness. That's no direction, no purpose. There's nothing that you want, nothing that happened to you. We had more rebellions than anyone else. Be clear on that. And understand when we had these rebellions, we knew exactly what we were fighting for. We knew exactly what happened to us. Yes, you had business from Washington Avenue all the way up to Queen Avenue, both sides of the street, most businesses touch it. But we didn't have a job in one of them. Yes, you could walk down there months and wear a big factory on the north side, but you didn't have a job in none of them. The north side had the lion's share of the big milk companies in this state. We're over north. We didn't have a job in none of them. They had the biggest, cleaners and laundry strung out along here. We didn't have no jobs in none of them. There was nothing around here that would allow us to work unless you're going to sweep floors or be a busboy or do dishes. You're a man looking for a job, so you become a porter on the train. That's the best you could do in liberal white Minnesota. So you come through that in liberal white Minnesota, and when you stand up, and we were standing up, we went to Martin Luther King. We were glad to do it. We were teenagers. I will admit Stokey didn't cause the riot, but he damn sure made us black power. Because he gave us the clarity we did not have. We did not have it. We really thought civil rights was the way to go because King was told to go civil rights. We didn't know he was told to go civil rights. But when we understood, we couldn't go civil rights because we knew it was the wrong way to go. I respect King. I respect the victory that he had. But you knew you pigeonholed us when you made us fight for civil rights. Simply because all the way back to George Washington, when he was the president with the largest plantation and the largest amount of slaves, over 300 and some slaves, he said we were not human. We were chattel property, 3/5 human, mostly monkey. And you pushed that for generations. We didn't enslave human beings. We enslaved chattel property, beasts of the field. These were the words that you used. That carried all the way up as property. So if I destroy this and I don't pay it, you take me to civil court. It's property. So when you shoot me down in the street, you won't charge that white boy with murder. You want to see that he violated my civil rights because I'm still property. That's why we didn't fight for civil rights. We're not property. We're human. We're not another race. We're human. And there's only one race. You made up this mess called racism. We never did buy into it. You can't take a horse and a dog anywhere you want and put them together and make a pony puppet. You can't do that. But you can take a man and woman anywhere in the world. They will make another human being from the same race. So if we enter into your madness and push racism, then we sick as you. You ain't no different race. You ain't got 3 more hearts than I do. You ain't got blue or green blood different than mine. You ain't got more lungs than me. All these made up things that you made to separate people and keep them apart is what brings about the rebellion, because out of that you treat people differently because you don't see them as human. Teach. So the Black Power movement was necessary to empower our people. We didn't want to go to school with you. We wanted better schools. You had it twisted. Amen. We didn't want to go to your store. We wanted to own the store. You had it twisted. We didn't want to live next door to you. We wanted them to give us the mortgage so we can buy the homes in our own neighborhood. You had it twisted. We didn't want to go vote. We wanted to vote and run. You had it twisted. And Kingdom, if they called with the young people, we would be going through this mess right now. Because we would have had the power that we were reaching for. We were never reaching for the right to sit next to you. We were reaching for the right to be human. We never called ourselves, what do they call them, civil rights fighters, and then they call them activists, then they call them troublemakers, then they call us political and controversial. They've called us everything but freedom fighters. Fighting for freedom, justice in this country. But we know if you tell the truth, you're going to have to fess up to what you did to us. We're fighting for human justice. You don't want to give that. Oh, Spike Moss, you don't want to invite him. He's political. You don't invite him. He's controversial. So if I went to Russia in the middle of communism, and I'm talking about freedom, I would be political and controversial. Because I'm talking about freedom in a land that's communistic. So how am I political and controversial talking about freedom in the land of freedom? Unless it's controversial and political for a black man to think he should be free too.
All right.
We're not as crazy as y'all thought we were. We were being taught well. Everything we needed to know about this land, about this struggle, about this oppression, we took every lash you put on our back. They would come to our people and plant rumors so they wouldn't join us and try to stop us and destroy what we're trying to do and destroy us personally. Yes, we were kids, but adults was teaching us. Many of them adults was black and many of them adults was white. But they was teaching us exactly what we got to do, how we got to do it. Even when I was fighting the police, I won't drop no names, but a many white cop told me exactly what happened at that scene. Exactly. And so I know you got to have allies, but don't get it twisted. 2017, when the report came out, you're the worst state towards people of color in the entire country. Wisconsin second,
Well,
Mississippi third.
well,
I understand Mississippi, the brokest state in the nation. How does filthy rich Wisconsin and filthy rich Minnesota have so much hate that you could say in, 2017, we averaged $26,000 to $27,000 a year income while you was at 62 and 63? And the last report said, I'm still there, but you're now at 72 and 73. It said you had 70-some% of all the homes. We got less than 20. It said that your banking system here is the worst system towards people of color in the entire country, and of those banks, Wells Fargo treats us the worst. It said in those banks, a black couple making $140 together couldn't get a $40,000 loan. A white couple only making $40 would get it. That's the Minnesota I've always known that I got in trouble for. What did I get in trouble for? You like doing it, you just don't like hearing about it.
all right, all right.
So you vilify those that stand up, like them young brothers and sisters that stood up in my generation. I am proud to be part of the Black Power movement. I'm proud to have stood up for my people in my community. I'm proud to have stood up across this country from one end to the other. And as my teacher taught me, Mahmoud, I'm not supposed to ask you, can I do it? I'm just supposed to do it.
Amen.
So if you understand that, then understand that you're right at the heels of what happened in '66. You are back to total disrespect. You're back to saying what you want to men, women, and children. You're back to treating us any kind of way you want. You've already created your new plantation called prison. You're already denying us good jobs. You're already trying to find a way to keep us out of school. And your good old president has already decided we don't need no more public school. Let them pay for school.
Well,
Let them go to college if their mom and daddy have the credit for the loan. You're getting ready to take us down and maybe take us back past 40 years. Now you can call us black son of a so-and-so's on TV and be the president of the United States and nobody do nothing.
well, yeah.
Now you can do once again what you used to do to women yesterday when white men had a cane in the house and could whoop their white wife when they want. Now they're getting you back there, ain't they? They're bringing you on back there where they were when you thought it was just us. Oh, you in this with us.
All right.